The Angels break a 6-game losing streak against the Twins last night, and they did it in a very incredible way.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels scored 12 runs last night, all with 2 outs, and we've got 4 takeaways from that game. We're asking, is Mitch Ferris the real deal and why his first starts have been so good? And then we're going to talk about Torii Hunter. He was in the dugout again for this series. So what's that all about? Before we get there, we want to thank our sponsor, Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
Hey, we've been fans of this team our whole lives, and it's our 4th season talking Angels baseball with you. Almost over, Mike, our 4th season. We're here every single day, Monday through Friday, every weekday talking Halo ball, and we love having the conversations that you guys bring to the table. But Mike, before we get to what we're talking about with Mitch Ferris and Torii Hunter, let's talk about the Angels winning last night's game 12-2.
Yeah, first takeaway is the Angels had the best first inning they've had all season long. Yes, that's an exaggeration, Jon. Yeah, I'm going a little bit crazy here, but I loved and you loved what happened in that first inning. After Trout and Moncada singled, Zach Neto hitting third. We'll talk about that in just a moment. He bunted, Jon, and he moved the runners over. And I get it. You might wonder, like, is this ideal for your third hitter to be bunting runners over? The answer is no, it's not ideal. But is it necessary for a team that doesn't know how to produce productive outs? Yes, absolutely. In fact, I loved what Jeff Fletcher of the OC Register tweeted when this happened. He had the video of Zach Neto bunting, and he just tweeted, happy, with a question mark.
Happy?
And Jeff, my response is, yes, very happy. After Neto bunted, Taylor Ward walked, which that was strike 3. He got a good call on that one.
Is Jen Powell on the payroll for the Angels? Because we'll talk about Hendricks here in a second, but she helped out the Angels a lot last night.
She really helped. I'd be interested to see what that umpire scorecard says today. Then with 2 outs, Jon, Halo's got a clutch hit from Luis Rengifo. He singled to right and scored 2 runs. And then the Angels attempted a double steal. Rengifo stealing second, Ward stealing home. They were successful, and they scored a 3rd run, which caused me to consider this question, Jon, and I'm going to throw it to you.
Okay.
Has management not considered how effective this strategy of bunting and running the bases and making the pitcher a little bit uneasy and making the defense wonder what's happening and playing the infield? Like, it all of a sudden, like last night was kind of like, oh, yeah, you know what? Maybe we should do this with 19 games left.
Yeah. Mike, where'd it go? Because Ron Washington was preaching this last year, and they were trying to get creative, and at times they got too cute and too creative, right? Yeah. We had a whole discussion last season about the suicide squeeze, the bunt trying to get the runner home from third, and how Ron Washington loved to do that. And it was like, I don't know, Ron, I don't know if you should do that when this guy can't even hit the strike zone for the other team. But where'd that go? Because it hasn't been there. And look, I know Joe Adell's having a great season, and it's his breakout season. Mike, he hadn't been running a lot this season, and maybe that's because he wants to stay healthy and on the field.
Sure.
But he stole a ton of bases last year. Luis Rengifo stole a ton of bags last year. So where did this go? Because it looked like that was the team this was going to be. Then all of a sudden it became what we've complained about all season long, and that's swinging for the fences with 2 strikes, not changing your approach, not trying to go the other way. And so I don't know where this went. I don't know why the game plan changed. It's very, very confusing to me.
I think, and this is just a theory, Mike's theory, so go with me on this. I don't even know if I believe it, so I'm just going to say it out loud, and then we'll talk about if I believe it. I think that they slowed down on the base paths because of the strikeouts and their approach at the plate. Swinging for the fence, swinging for power, getting launch angle, those types of things. And I wonder if they slowed themselves down because it was going to lead to strike them out, throw them out. I wonder if they slowed themselves down because they weren't making contact at all. And maybe perhaps the expectation is if they make contact, it's going to go over the wall instead of making contact and hitting a weak ground ball to the right side to move the runner from second over to third base. So there might be a mental strategy that they just have intuitively because they know that they're probably not going to make contact. And so that's why they may have shied away from running the base path in an aggressive way. I loved what we saw last night, and I want to see more of that, not just in the next few games. I want to see that type of strategy in 2026.
I think they gave the reins to Torii Hunter last night after the embarrassing game on Monday night. He was like, guys, we're not doing this anymore. I know I'm not the manager, but I'm taking over.
Yep.
That's what I would like to see him. I know we'll talk about him later on, but that's just a preview of where my head's at. Mike, second takeaway, the Angels scored all their runs with 2 outs, 12 runs with 2 outs. And time again, this is your bugaboo. The Angels giving up runs with 2 outs and not being able to get that third out. And so the Angels pulled the Uno reverse card on the Twins. We told you about the 3 in the first inning, and then they added 2 more in the bottom of the 5th inning. Trout and Moncada were on base again with 2 outs. Chris Taylor comes through with an RBI single. By the way, he was in this game because Adele was in the lineup, got scratched later on with still dealing with that vertigo. Chris Taylor, and I tweeted this, he's everything that Kevin Newman was supposed to be, right? Just a guy off the bench. He's not going to hit a ton, but when he does hit, it's clutch, and it comes through at the right time. And he's a utility guy, plays all over. It's a shame that we hadn't been able to see more of him because he'd been hurt so much this season. He did tell Erica Weston that since he came off the IL the second time, that he's been feeling a lot better. By the way, Rengifo added the 5th run with an RBI single. All his RBIs came on first pitch swings. He had 3 total in this game. Then the Halos added a 6th run in the bottom of the inning with Taylor Ward, an RBI single. He's got 96 RBIs on the year. Chris Taylor follows with a 3-run home run, 4 RBIs in this game, a huge one to center field. And it all started, Mike, with a Bryce Teodosio bunt single that turned into him getting on second base because the pitcher panicked, threw it past the first baseman, and then Mike Trout walked, and that's when Chris Taylor hit his 3-run home run. So it goes back to creating havoc, creating chaos the way that they've done. So it was fantastic to see up to that point.
Locked On Everydayer Matt Oso, I believe, was the one that commented yesterday about Teodosio, and he did a good comparison of Teodosio and Taylor Ward and said Teodosio is the culture you want on this team. Taylor Ward is not, right? And Teodosio is the guy that's going to push the defense and make the pitcher panic and play good defense. And when he makes contact, look out, right? He had a couple of ground balls to third base. Could have probably beat out a couple of those. He just was beat by a hot step, a half second, right? And so I love him at the bottom of this lineup. He does, remind me a lot of Peter Borges. He's got that quick bat. If he can stay consistent, and that's the thing that I'm worried about with him, because Peter Borges flamed out real fast, right? And if you go back to like Reggie Willits, he had one really good year with the Angels, and then he flamed out after that. And so I really like Teodosio's bat. I really like Teodosio's defense. If he can just stay consistent, I think he could be a great threat at the bottom of this order. Speaking of threats, John, the Angels added 3 more runs in the bottom of the 8th. Yohan Moncada hits a 3-run home run to right field, crushed it, 12th of the season. This came after a challenge call at second base because Bryce Teodosio tagged from first. The runner was at second, tagged, went to third, was safe. Teodosio was at first. He tags, goes to second. They initially called him out, but on replay, it showed that he got his hand in there. And then, good thing the Angels challenged it because then Moncada crushed that 3-run home run.
On the first pitch, too. Crushed it to right field. Fantastic. Third takeaway, Mike. Kyle Hendricks, on point all night. For 4 innings, he threw 39 pitches. 33 of those were for strikes. Only 6 of those were strikes or pitches out of the strike zone. He finished with 80 pitches in 7 innings. Come on, let him get the Maddox. Let him go for it, right? 58 strikes, 4 hits, 1 walk, struck out 6. I don't want to gloss over the fact that 1 walk from Kyle Hendricks, that's huge. Right. Last time he went 7+ innings was May 3rd against the Tigers. That makes 3 straight quality starts for Kyle Hendricks. 4 of his last 5 starts, he's gone 6 innings. And the first time not giving up a run in a game since June 17th against the Yankees. Again, Jen Powell on the payroll, I think maybe, because she
helped him out.
But, I felt like the Angels got more calls in their favor than maybe the Twins did. the Twins pitching did. But at the end of the day, there were some pitches that Kyle Hendricks got at the top of the zone that didn't get called. And so you just got to take that with a grain of salt, because the fact is, you got a great start out of Kyle Hendricks. Unfortunately, he's come, September. It was on September 9th. I mean, gosh, it sucks that we couldn't see more of that this season.
Yeah. Fourth takeaway, John. Trout led off again. Neto hit third again. So how'd they do? Trout went 2 for 4 with a walk, 3 runs scored. First time he scored 3 runs at home since 2022. Add that to his 1 for 3 with an RBI, 2 walks on Monday. Feels like exactly what you want from a leadoff hitter, right? Is that what your is about?
Yeah, exactly. It only took him 8 weeks for them to figure it out, Mike? Like, he's been back since the middle of the summer, and now he's just getting into that first spot with Neto in the third spot, who went 1 for 4, 2 strikeouts, had that sack bunt. Add that to his 1 for 3 with a stolen base on Monday night. So again, I think that's exactly what needed to happen. There was an interview with Erica Weston and Neto beforehand, and she said, "What do you think about batting third and Trout at first?" And he said, "I've done it in college. I did it in the minor leagues. I've done it a few times." He goes, "I'm pretty comfortable with it." And then Mike was off camera giving him grief. And then Zach Neto said, "Yeah, I just need Mike to get on base in front of me." I was like, there you go. That's the attitude. Mike, what changes from Monday night, where they get embarrassed with sloppy play in the field, to what they did tonight with, the double steal and the sacrifice bunt and the bunt single that turns into getting Teodosio on second? Like, what changed here? What do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do with, I think they were embarrassed last night. And we're going to talk about their mindset on tomorrow's show and what they said after that big loss on Monday. But I think embarrassment probably drove them. But too, John, I can't just, I don't want to discount it. They played small ball. They had productive outs, right? And I don't know if they called for the bunt in the first inning with Zach Neto, but good on Zach Neto. Good on Zach Neto bunting that ball. I mean, that's what should happen, right? And again, ideally, your third hitter, you don't want him bunting in that situation. But Neto has a strikeout in his game. So what did he do? He's like, I'm going to move these runners over, and I'm going to trust that the guys behind me are going to get him in. And they did. And that was what you want from a full lineup. And so I love what they did last night. I love how they set up the lineup. I get that they're out of this race. I get that there's a lot to complain about. But if they are the team that they were last night, and pushing the ball and making the defense move and making things unsettled and uncomfortable, that team has got 10 plus more wins this year, right? They're at 77 wins right now, 78 wins right now, if they played this all season long. And you're right, it seemed like it just kind of stopped and they didn't bring it back. And it may have been because of the big strikeout in their game, and they didn't want to have themselves out of an inning because they're swinging and missing.
How many times have we said on this show, oh, if they just did that, what they did last night, right? They did it last week against the Royals. We literally said, hey, save that game to your phone so that you can watch it back and look at what you did, because that's the kind of team that, well, gosh, we said that early on this season. Like the first 2 weeks, we were like, hey, look at this team. And then they went on that month of swinging for the fences, striking out, not putting the ball in play, not going the opposite way. We were like, go back to the first 2 weeks.
Right.
To the point where we said, all right, this team is no longer the team of the first 2 weeks. This is who they are.
Yeah.
And that's who they have been this whole season. And then you get glimpses.
Yep.
You get little, glimmers of hope. But it's so frustrating that they haven't been consistent with that. Mike, I think that goes to the top. I think that goes to management. I don't think it's a coincidence that Torii Hunter was in the dugout, watched that embarrassing game on Monday, and then you see him sitting up on that top step right next to Ray Montgomery. And I just think that made a world of difference, just his presence in the dugout there. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Coming up, is Mitch Ferris the real deal? Should we save Ferris for the rotation next year? Hey, see what I did there? We'll talk about that coming right up.
The NFL season is here. Week 1 is completed, headed to week 2, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for all of the can't-miss offers. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the entire app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however I like to bet, maybe player props or building a same-game parlay or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. FanDuel is quick. It's easy, and it's the best way to add a little bit more energy to Sunday. So you ready to play, everydayers? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com. You can get started there. Again, FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Nutrafol. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth and products and thought, oh yeah, like that actually works. There's so many products out there. It's hard to know which ones actually do anything. And that's why we want our everydayers to give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's trusted by over 1.5 million people. It's not just hype. It's a supplement, clinically tested, targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. There was somebody in our comments that said, hey, I want to see Jon without a hat. So this is what I got going on. So I'm okay right now. But Nutrafol is a simple to add to your day supplement. Just take 4 pills with a meal, no prescription needed, and you can feel good about it, knowing that Nutrafol is NSF certified, backed by peer-reviewed studies. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On Angels listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com. Enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, all one word. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB.
This is the podcast, Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can check us out wherever you listen to podcasts, whether you're watching or listening. You can get into the conversation. Find today's show on YouTube and give a comment. Tell us what you think in the comment section. While you're there, hit like, hit subscribe. If you're not subscribed yet, please do that. We'd love to have you a part of our everydayers. And you can tag us on social media or DM us at Locked On Angels on Twitter or at Super Halo Bros and Locked On Angels on Twitter and Instagram. And we would love to hear your thoughts wherever you can get a hold of us, because we love you. We're glad you're everydayers, and we're thankful that you're here.
We love you. I love it. That's the sentiment. I love it. Mike, Mitch Ferris. How about that guy, huh?
Yeah.
Just 3 runs in the 11 innings he's thrown in his first 2 major league starts. And we got some quotes here. Was this Jeff Fletcher, OC Register?
Yes.
As always. He always does a fantastic job hearing from the players. Here's what he brought up. He asked Ferris how he felt about his first 2 starts. He said, it's an honor to have the opportunity. I'm just trying to make the most out of it right now and build on what I've been doing. And here's what's made him so effective in those first 2 starts. According to Barry Enright, it's the changeup. It's his best pitch, not just when he uses it, but how he uses it. Here's an example. In the last start, he used the changeup to set up his fastball. His changeup sits about 77 miles an hour, and it looked like a fastball coming out of the hand, and he uses that to his advantage and follows the changeup with his 4-seam fastball. And the A's whiffed on 26% of their swings on his fastball, which was only 90 miles an hour, Mike. Mm-hmm. And the major league average whiff rate on 4-seam fastballs that are 92 mile an hour or lower is 17. So nearly 1/3 more of that was what Ferris was getting in terms of swings and misses on his fastball. Ray Montgomery said there's velocity and then there's effective velocity, how it works with the stuff and the rest of the pitching package. There's many guys that have that kind of fastball that play off different stuff and they're able to make it play up. You can see some of the swings too, not just swings and misses, but the late swings, the jam swings. So Ray Montgomery said the conclusion is that the change and the 4-seam difference is really hard to see.
Yeah, and the results are proving that, Jon. Ferris is 1-0 with a 2.45 ERA, 11 innings, 7 Ks, 3 walks. Jon, I love this. 0.82 whip and a 162 batting average against. And so when we think about Mitch Ferris and we think about what he's done so far, obviously the question is, okay, so is he going to be considered for the rotation next year? Because there's conversations about should Reed be back and will they sign some guys? So Mitch Ferris could potentially be an option, right? And then there's a layer of, well, do they really want to go with Mitch Ferris, because he's only pitched twice, he'll probably get one more start before the end of the year. So how you feeling about Ferris, and what do you think the Angels must do with him in 2026?
Well, I want to say this, and I want to give credit to, I think it was an everydayer in our comments on YouTube. This is why we read everything, because you guys bring up such great comments. But somebody said, this is everything Tyler Anderson was supposed to be, right? A Tyler Anderson who doesn't throw very hard. His fastball is about 89 miles an hour, right, Mike? But he's got a sweet changeup.
Yeah.
And he sometimes walks a whole bunch of guys, and sometimes he's pretty effective in using the changeup and the fastball and mixing up those speeds. Ferris, in the 2 starts that he's had, has been what Tyler Anderson has been in the past, I guess you could say, and also the effective guy that Anderson has been at times for the Angels, just not consistently. Obviously, during the first half of last year, he was great. We've pretty much had second half Anderson all season long, as we always refer to him as. But Mike, Ferris being this kind of pitcher, I love this kind of pitching. This is what made Jared Weaver effective, right? Never threw hard. He acknowledges the fact that his fastball was never anything great, but he was so good at mixing his pitches and fooling guys up there. That's why he lasted as long as he did. Now, just like Jeff Weaver, they both kind of fell off pretty quickly at the end of their career. But all of that to say, I think that what the league is often missing is tricky pitching, clever pitching, creative pitching. And I think Ferris has encapsulated that in his first 2 starts. Now, has he earned a spot in the rotation? I'm not sold on that quite yet, because as we all know, there's always a book that comes out on players after they've put in 2 or 3 starts, right? Whoever he faces next, how he lines up in the rotation, is probably going to know a little bit more about Mitch Ferris, and probably going to know that, hey guys, he plays that fastball off the changeup real well. It's going to look the same coming out of his hands, so just be prepared to swing on the fastball or swing on the changeup, depending on the speed. But I think that that's a really effective way to pitch. The separation of speeds, especially if the ball's coming out of the same arm slot, it looks the same coming out of the hand. That's really great. That's what a changeup is supposed to be. It's supposed to be the pitch that looks like a fastball, but comes in way slower, right?
Yeah.
And with a little downward action. And so for Ferris to have a spot in next year's rotation, I think it's too soon to tell. I think that it is fun to see the performance that he's put up. And he definitely pitches with a confidence, right?
Yeah.
I mentioned in his first outing, didn't look overwhelmed, didn't look like a rookie, didn't look like he was making his first major league start. Mike, maybe that has something to do with the fact that he came up in the Braves organization versus the Angels organization, where Braves, they crank out guy after guy after guy after guy, right? You know, they lose all their pitching staff this year, and then all of a sudden, oh, here's Hunter Waldrop, or I think it's Thurston Waldrop, or it's like you know, the Buxtons, not thieves, right? he's got that fancy name, Hurston Waldrop, that's it. Dude's a stud, and he comes out of nowhere. He comes up, helps the Braves. You know, I know they're not going anywhere, but he's been great. And so all that to say, I do like the pedigree that he has. I like the background that he has, especially coming from the Braves organization. I think the Angels made the right move with getting Mitch Ferris, because it was kind of like a Davis Daniel that you could hit the reset button on, right?
Yeah.
He's coming over from the Braves. He's got that background. He's somebody that, hey, let's plug him into our system, see how he does, and see if he can succeed. But what about you? What are your thoughts on Mitch Ferris? Should he be in the rotation? Does he have a case so far this season?
I was talking to Everydayer John when we were bowling our 300s at the Ohapi Bowl, and John had a good point, and I agree with him. And what he said was, I think I want to see more of Mitch Ferris before I make a decision about him. And I think that that's the right approach. I have a little bit of Jack Kahanowitz PTSD. And what I mean by that is last year he was great at the end of the year, right? And then he just was not the same guy. He was walking a lot of guys, lost control, getting hit a lot, wasn't able to locate. And so I am hesitant to say, oh yeah, Mitch Ferris needs to be considered for the rotation in 2026. I think you got to move Reed Detmers into the rotation before you even consider Mitch Ferris, because I am with Taylor Blake Ward. I think that Reed Detmers could be the ace of this staff if its head's on right? And what I like about Mitch Ferris is it seems like his head's on right. You said that he's crafty and those types of things, and he's confident. I think Mitch Ferris is intelligent. I think that he has got a good baseball IQ, and I think he knows what he wants to do out there. And I think that him and the catcher have been on the same page. And this is what I want to do. This is how my stuff works. And so let me throw it along this way. So call that type of game, and I'm going to throw that way. I think he's got a good baseball IQ, and he's somebody that this team needs. And maybe it's because he was with the Braves. And so hopefully that doesn't fall out of his ear, right? And then he loses that, because it seems like sometimes that happens with this organization. So I don't think that you need to have him in consideration for 2026. I'd love to see him in 1 or 2 more starts potentially for the rest of the year. If he continues to put numbers like this up, then I think spring training is a time where you can evaluate some of that and maybe give him a month or 2 in the minor leagues and bring him up if he's just crushing it down there.
I was going to say, having said everything that we've said, he's the first one I'm calling. If there's a spot in the rotation that, somebody's hurt or something like that next year, he's going to be my first man up. If the Angels don't fill out that rotation and already have a spot for him in 2026.
I love watching baseball live, and I'm sure last night, everydayers and Angel fans loved watching that game because the Angels just crushed the Twins, which was a fun game to watch. But getting tickets can be tough. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it. That's why I love Game Time, because they give the advantage back to the fans. It's fast, easy. It's backed by the Game Time guarantee. You're always going to get 100% authentic tickets delivered right on time at the best price. Plus, the price you see is the price you pay, and it's faster and it's cheaper and it's less stressful than buying tickets anywhere else. So download the Game Time app right now, create an account, and use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, and go. Download Game Time today.
Mike, it's been a long time on this show that we've been able to speculate wildly. And so I want to take some time for us to do that. But let's recap where we are. Torii Hunter has been back in the Angels dugout for this series. Now, he was with the Angels in Arlington when they were facing the Rangers, but there hasn't been much about Hunter, why he's here. We've read that he's been working with players, including Teodosio. Jeff Fletcher had a great article there. That's a really good thing, passing along the knowledge. But I think we could, read between the lines and maybe think about what this might mean for the Angels in the future. But he's suited up. He's in the dugout. I know that it's the Angels versus the Twins, and I know those are the 2 teams that Torii Hunter is most associated with. But he works for the Angels at the end of the day. He's part of the Angels organization. And so he has a job and a role with the Angels. Therefore, he's in the dugout. He's suited up. Mike, why is Torii Hunter here? What do you think? Why is he really here?
I am going to speculate wildly. Haven't talked to anybody. Haven't had any private conversations. Speculate wildly.
Yeah.
I think that this is a dip your toe, maybe your full left foot in the water with Torii Hunter. What can he bring? How will the players respond? What kind of vibes does he bring? What can he do to help Ray Montgomery? I think last night was the perfect example, because the night before he was shaking his head at the terrible defense.
And I didn't see that clip until afterward. It came from the Twins broadcast, and they were like, oh, Torii Hunter is not pleased with what he's seeing out there. And I didn't see that clip until after the game. Yeah. And he was none too pleased in that dugout.
And then what did you see last night? A very different team. Yep. Yeah. Very different team. I don't think that's a coincidence. Speculating wildly, I think Torii Hunter's influence shaped the team last night. Do you see him in the dugout after the home runs coming down and he's dancing down the middle? I love that, right? A little bit of Ron Washington, but also veteran carries himself well. You see Mike Trout put his arm around him. They're whispering in his ear, talking about stuff.
That to me was the biggest thing, was the fact that, who's mentoring Trout when Trout gets here in 2012? It's Torii Hunter. And then they've obviously had a connection and a bond even after Torii left the Angels and finished out his career and everything. But Mike, just for the sake of, getting Trout out of his funk and maybe helping Trout get back to who he knows he can be, put Torii Hunter in charge of this team.
Yeah.
I said it last night after the horrible loss. Like, I don't care anymore. I think that, they got to clean house. They got to make better decisions. Whether Perry stays or goes, I don't really care. I would like to see this team with some new blood at the top, in the sense that they can infuse some energy and enthusiasm, play the kind of ball that they did last night against the Twins. If that's who we get next season, count me in.
Yeah. So speculating wildly, I think Torii suggested Trout leading off.
Yeah.
I think he did it last night as well.
Yeah.
I think Torii suggested Teodosio, bunt single. I think maybe he talked to Neto and, hey, let's move those runners. I'm going to speculate wildly. I think Torii had a big influence. Now, he could be listening and Angels could be listening and laughing at me, and that's fine. I'm a podcast guy. They're baseball people. They know what they're doing. I'm speculating wildly, and I think what we saw last night, and even the night before with maybe some of the adjustments, I think last night he may have been given more authority to speak into the team, and I think what we saw last night was the influence of Torii Hunter. So I'm anticipating more of that tonight. If it shifts, then I'm going to be very disappointed.
Yeah, because it feels like a very obvious difference between Monday night and Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And Torii Hunter, of course, in the dugout for both those games. But yeah, I think that when you consider the lineup change, and like you said, the putting down the bunt and, the double steal, what the heck? The
Never
double
happened.
steal that worked. And the double steal that, correct me if I'm wrong, Taylor Ward scored on at home, right?
Yep, you're right.
And even last night, I know he didn't get the play at the plate. Taylor Ward running in on that. No, not last night. 2 nights ago, Monday night, running in on the catch, the sac fly in front of him, catching it and trying to get the guy home. The ball was ahead of him.
Yeah.
It was just that Sebastian Rivero had to kind of rear back and he just
Kinda
didn't get the
handcuffed
tag.
him a little bit. Yep.
When have you seen that out of Taylor Ward, right?
Yeah.
And so I know Monday night sucked. And I know Tuesday night was so much better. But we mentioned it. It feels like a lot of the guys have wanted to quit on, maybe not the team, but Ray Montgomery. Zach Neto said something. I keep bringing up this interview. When he talked about his season with Erica Weston and, hey, how do you feel about, doing this? And you've repeated what you've done last year. You've done it better. He thanked all the players on the team. Basically said, yeah, the guys, they cheer me on. They want me to do this and do that. And they support me and da-da-da. Didn't mention the coaches.
Yeah.
Didn't mention the manager.
Yeah.
Ron's obviously not there, so he didn't bring him up either. If we're speculating wildly and we're reading between the lines,
do it.
I can see a distinct difference between what this team did last year, what this team did in the first half before Ron had to take medical leave, what they've done so far, and then all of a sudden, you've got a guy like Torii Hunter in the dugout. I mean, look, didn't they do this last year with Salmon and was,
Chuck Finley was down there.
Chuck Finley, that's who it was. I wanted to say Langer, but it was Finley. They did that last year.
Yep.
I didn't see much of a difference, Mike.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Torii Hunter, I think that tonight, I think you're right. I think that's really going to say something about who this team can be, especially with the way they played last night. Let's see more of that. Let's see if it continues. I'm going to be on the train of giving Torii Hunter the job all offseason. That's my decision, and I'm sticking to it. I know we speculated on Monday between, is it Wash? Is it Pujols? Is it Hunter? I'm all in on Hunter. I know he hasn't managed. I'm ready to give him that. I'm ready to give him that job. If this is the influence that he can have on this team, then I'm all for it.
Thanks for speculating and making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. College football fans, check out Locked On and Fire TV's presentation of the college football kickoff. It's your ultimate college football weekly preview show. Drake Toll is there, Gary Patterson is there, Jesse Hawley is there, and all of our Locked On local experts. A college football preview show that only Locked On can do. You can catch that show every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV.
Hey, once again, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels or at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching, listening, wherever you're at, come on over to YouTube, find today's episode, speculate wildly along with us. In fact, write it in all capitals, speculating wildly. I'd love to hear your comments. Mike and I love to read your comments, and we always do our best to get back to all of you. Mike, what do you have on deck for Thursday's show?
After Monday's loss, the players were interviewed and asked, like, hey, what's the mindset? What are you thinking about these last 19 plus games, right? And we're going to share what they said, and I'm going to share how I think it just confirms why Torii Hunter would be great and why the casual culture has taken over Anaheim. We'll talk about that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right, looking forward to that conversation, and we hope you'll come back and join us. Until then, my name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Thursday.
Speculate. Let's have Wash third base coach next year. Get rid of Bo Porter. How about that?
There we go. Love it.